Joining us now, one of the Fed's sharpest critics around, Congressman Ron Paul of Texas. And Congressman, we're going to get to the Fed in just a second, but first of all, the overreaction about nuclear energy. Do you think there's some of that going on inside the Beltway?
Oh, I think a lot of it is overreaction. I remember when 3 Mile Island occurred, and there was a lot of hysteria, and it turned out, not too many people died at 3 Mile Island. Chernobyl was very, very bad. We still don't know the results here, but I think it's overblown. Just think of, just not that many months ago when we had an oil leak in the Gulf. They don't show you any pictures of any damage anymore. I mean, That was a good excuse to put a moratorium on drilling in deep water. So yes, people take advantage of this. They don't miss an opportunity. And I think nuclear power is very, very dangerous, but I'm also convinced it's the safest form of energy that we can have. And so far, I think the record is clear, but like you say and you admit, we have to be cautious and concerned about it, about what's happening over there.
Well, we do, but I'm just wondering about these knee-jerk reactions that we so often see by folks inside the Beltway. Is anybody proposing new rules and regulations or a new law that would prevent nuclear plants from being built?
Well, the regulatory people are, and then when you see the market reaction, but sometimes markets react and they look for excuses. I think the market was sort of a little shaky before this occurred, and then it's really precipitated big changes. But that doesn't mean that they've caught the nuclear accident caused the whole problem. I mean, maybe the market was overbought or something. But no, the regulators are going to be down here. The environmentalists are going to go nuts. And I'm scared to death they're going to quit building nuclear power plants here. After 35 years, we finally got around to doing it. And I imagine that just like they closed down drilling in the Gulf, in deep water, they'll probably close down any more development. And they need to stop and think. And maybe your experts will tell you whether or not there's been more people die in other nuclear, coal mines and gas explosions and all the other things.
But it's interesting you said they're going to close down. Do you think that there will be another nuclear energy plant built in the United States in our lifetime?
I wouldn't bet a lot of money on it. I mean, I think it should. It probably depends on, if the Middle East really blows up, which it could, if something would happen in Saudi Arabia, maybe the people would wise up and say, maybe there are alternative sources of energy that we can use. I mean, just think how long they've used nuclear reactors on submarines for 50-some years, and nobody's ever even gotten sick. So it can be safe. It is risky. The worst accident was in a communist system that doesn't have the same concerns about property as others have. This one's still up in the air, but my guess is that when the dust settles, it won't be nearly as bad as some of those scare tactics that we've been reading about in the last couple of days.
Now, one of the reactions that has already happened, we know that the Japanese government is terribly in debt. Maybe it was going to be sold off, that market was going to be sold off even without what happened with the tsunami. 200% is the GDP in relation, the debt in relation to their GDP. So it's much greater even than ours. And the Fed, their version of the Fed, their central bank is already printing a lot of yen. Is that going to affect the Fed? Is that going to encourage our Fed to print more money?
I don't think the Fed needs any encouragement. All you have to do is look at the history of Bernanke, how he has studied and written for 30-some years, and he says the answer to all our problems is printing money. So no matter what, if he thinks the economy is not booming, he's going to print money. So I don't even think he needs the Japanese to give him any encouragement. All he has to see is that and he knows that the recovery is not real. So he's and he hasn't finished with QE2, so he's prepared. He's prepared to do what he knows how to do best, and that's create more money and credit, which is not wealth. It disrupts wealth formation, and someday the country will wake up and realize that printing money does not create wealth in itself.
Well, we just today got the latest decision of the Fed. They're going to leave interest rates where they are, and they're going to go ahead with this QE2 thing, which is essentially just printing more money.
Right.
Does that mean that we are going to have a lot more inflation?
Oh, absolutely. Commodity prices, of course, dropped in these corrections. They did that 2 years ago, but long term, all commodity prices are up, food prices are up, and soft commodities are up, oil prices are up, and they're going to continue because the dollar is down in purchasing power. The thing that's hard for people to realize is that they think that the dollar is strong because the other currencies are so weak. So not everybody leaves the dollar and goes to yen and to euros, but they are leaving the dollar in the sense they're demanding more dollars for commodities, more for health care, more for education, more for food now. And even the Fed has, I think, started to admit they can't get away with claiming there is no inflation anymore, because they're meeting with too many people realizing the cost of living and their grocery bills are higher.
Well, that's some progress, right? At least they're finally admitting a little bit of inflation, right?
Right.
Yeah. All right. Well, by the way,
No
final question to you. Are you having any success? You're now chairman of the subcommittee to focus on the Fed. Are you having any influence over what they do?
Well, I wouldn't claim any influence. I think they pay a lot of attention. I saw they ordered a bunch of my books and they sent and spread them out around the Fed. They're all supposed to read them and do their homework. We are going to have some hearings this Thursday on inflation, price inflation. Does the Fed have a responsibility for the price inflation that we're subjected to right now? And that will be the theme of the hearings on Thursday.
Well, at least they're buying your books. That helps your book sales. Anyway, man, it'd be on the New York Times bestseller. Good to see you, Congressman. Thanks for being here. Congressman Ron Paul. Appreciate it.